Hi everyone. So I just wanted to give you some reflections for the parable for today on the unjust judge who doesn't fear God and who refuses to listen to the cry of the weakest. And that's what happens to a lot of us. It happens to us when we are working on work permits in countries, when we are migrants, when we are in vulnerable positions. The people in power don't care. They only care about making money and about the ones who are in powerful positions, the landowners, the ones who are bringing in the dough, the ones who are traveling. And that's been the case through all the scriptures. You see it with the safe passage of the Israelites through the Red Sea and how God strikes down the firstborn of the ones who have hurt his people and the pain that is inflicted on them. When man doesn't give us what we want and man is deaf to our suffering, to our plight, to what we are going through, as Christians we are taught to be strong in our faith and to nurture that faith and to make sure that we support each other in our homes, in our communities, in our families. Sadly, in Canada, it's the rich that get the support, not the people like me, who are begging for help and who have nothing, who have worked one day of the year. We get nothing. But we put our faith in God, not in our priests who are callous, not in our clergy, not in the bishops, not even in the Pope. We don't put our faith in them, because they are they'll be the first ones to take us off the altar like they did with me at Blessed Sacrament, or to tell me that no, there's other people now, we have more than enough, so you don't come. And normally it comes because the people that they choose are the ones who are working, their families are giving money to the parish, or you're in a job, something, they place you. And that happens in society. So Jesus is just using that parable to encourage us to keep our faith, and that even when we go through difficult times, to persevere and to put our trust in Him, in the Lord, and in Mother Mary. Because all the predictions that come through the ages, they always to strengthen our faith, to let us know that yes, the persecutions happen, the challenges happen, but we always turn to the Lord, and we go through very difficult things in life. And believe you me, nothing is worse than losing your father when you're young, because you don't have a protector. And even here, when I brought my mom to Canada, it was like the papers, it was dragging on and on and on, and the papers were not being put through. There was a backlog. So I had to go there, I had to talk to the ministers, I had to talk to their secretaries, I had to set up appointments. And then once they knew the plight and the story and what was happening, then they turned it around within a day. But everything was on me. I had to do everything. And it's very, very difficult. It's very hard. And it's very frightening. You have to have a lot of courage to go and talk to them and meet with them, because they're powerful men. They're powerful men and women after all. They can do anything. So thankfully for me, Mr. Volpe was kind and he liked me. And parents also have to love their children. They always remind us, honor your parents, but parents are also supposed to love their children. And we see that in our world today. We see that I signed a petition for some of my friends because their school for their children was facing closure. And thankfully it worked out, and they're keeping the school open. But that's the cruelty of men. It's the cruelty of when they want to bring in sex work, which is prostitution, and they want to say, oh, it's okay for women to be trafficked because they can't get any work, so it's another profession. But it isn't. It's slavery, and it's debasing your body. That's what it is. And women go to Dubai, they go to England, they come here, they think they're coming for personal care worker jobs or executive assistant jobs, and then they turn them into prostitutes or they rape them. I've heard the stories at the town halls for Marco Mendocino here, and I've seen the videos on YouTube about what happens in Dubai, and it happens all over, even in South Africa. The Dudula system, where they want to kill the foreigners. I couldn't stay in South Africa because I was a foreigner. I was there on a work permit. So, and here in Canada, we have the situation where millions of us are out of work, but they want to bring in more people, and people here can't get jobs. Any just judge would not do that. Any just rulers would not do that. They would look after the people here first and then have a balanced immigration system. And even with the tariffs that America has, the Americans will be the ones to demand those tariffs are lifted because they're too used to having it easy. They're too used to having cheap products, cheap food, cheap bananas, cheap meat. They're too used to it. They're not like us in Canada. I know people who came here. One of the ladies I volunteered with at the HRPA, she passed away now. But she came here from America. And she had a big house in America and a beautiful place. She just came with a suitcase and the clothes on her back. And then she's like, I shouldn't have come here. I said to her, why, Joanne? She said, it's so expensive. She said, I should have brought all my furniture and everything we had. I shouldn't have just come with a suitcase and the clothes in it. She said, I can't even go back now. I gave up my American citizenship. So, yeah, the Americans have it easy compared to us. Why do you think everyone wants to go work in America? Because that's the place people go. That's the place where you can become anything in the world. You can become a president of the United States of America after being an actor. You think that can happen in Canada? It can't. It can't. It can't happen in Canada. So, eventually the Americans will be the ones to demand that those tariffs get lifted because they can't cope with the rising costs. And now, for them, what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, to them it's too much. They're too used to having it easy. Even what Cyril Ramaphosa and all the leaders are doing, it's right. I love South Africa. I wanted to stay there, but I couldn't. I couldn't because I was on a work permit. So it's right. They should have proper channels for immigration and for dealing with refugees, but they also shouldn't abuse us. They shouldn't abuse refugees and people who are left stateless and not give them access to spiritual care and proper facilities and all that. And on the opposite side, we have to do our duty to the country. Once we come here, we have to do our duty and we have to do what's right. And we have to help others who are coming in, who are immigrants. And that's what I've tried to do. I don't know why I can't get a job. I know the unemployment rate is high, but with my skills and qualifications, it doesn't make sense to me that I'm sitting at home and that I can't get into a role in HR or project management or as an executive assistant. It doesn't make sense. I only worked one day this year at the elections, and that day there was that big snowstorm. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that's just it's just some examples and things to think about. And we have to be persistent in what we are asking of these unjust judges. We have to, because they'll just do what they want. They'll tell you, this is my church. I'm running it the way I see fit. We have to. We have to also say, what about us? What about the people? What about the cost of rising housing prices? Because if we don't, they'll just carry on doing it, and like our Prime Minister does, they'll just move their headquarters to America and carry on making their billions and say, oh shame, I feel sorry for those people over there, isn't that sad? Until it happens to their family, and their families have to go use the food banks, and their families are being trafficked, and their boys and girls are being raped in the workplace, and their children are being left stateless. They're starting here in Canada to give the lands back to the indigenous people. They're starting. So we have to persevere, and we have to keep applying for jobs and keep asking God to help us. That's all I can say. And small victories come, like when my friends have their children's schools stay open. They come in that way. They come when I see, okay, somebody who got raped in South Africa has access to drugs that stop AIDS. They come for me in those ways. But the victory I want is to see myself in a stable job, a good paid job, where I'm appreciated, not treated like an animal, and left to say, oh, there's no accommodation, you have to work overnight or you can go. That's slavery. And that's happening right here. Not in the third world, not in the global south. It's happening to me, to your friend, to your sister, to your daughter, to your niece. It's happening to me. So I'm praying for God's justice, and I would encourage others to pray for God's justice and to take action, because that's the only way it will come. If people hadn't fought for all those boys and girls that were kidnapped by Hamas and raped and trafficked to come home, they would never have come home. And the two Michaels, the doctors that were kidnapped in China, they wouldn't have come home. It's people like me. I used my voice. I tweeted to the prime ministers and to the president of America, because I've been in that position where you're sick of worrying. How am I going to cope? Am I going to be able to stay in the country or not? It's an awful feeling. But my faith keeps me strong, and I'm praying that I will get financial help and that I will get a good paid job. I've earned it. I haven't done anything to anyone in this country. I haven't hurt anyone, but it's the whites' attitudes of entitlement that have led to me being hurt. And all those calls they coordinated, they didn't only hurt me. They hurt all my colleagues, whoever I worked with on my shifts, including at Teleperformance, because they all love me. So it's on them. They have to think about where is God in all of this. Just like I have to think. We have the scriptures. Nobody gets away with it when it comes to God. If God loves us, we have to love God back.